documented that sampling came into the music production world in the early 80s with the use of the 808 drum machines, and from synth futurist bands like Kraft Werk, which led to the 1982 track called Afrika Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force by Planet Rock. Although it wasn't sampling as we know today with samplers, programming keypads and using DAWs live, it was the original concept of sampling that took off into the music production world. Classic tracks like Walk This Way by Run DMC, released on Profile recordings in 1984. They classically sampled the 1975 song Walk This Way from Toys in the Attic album by Aerosmith. White Lines by Melly Mel, released on Sugar Hill Records in 1983, sampled, or some say borrowed, the bass line from Cavern, a song from the 80s dance punk group Liquid Liquid. Wait, what? No Grandmaster Flash? There is controversy around who made the track, although it was made out that Grandmaster Flash participated on the record. Flash actually left Sugar Hill Records in 1982. One More Time by Daft Punk, released on Virgin Records in the year 2000, sampled Eddie John's 1979 disco hit, I Put a Spell on You. These days, music can sound quite clinical and very clean sounding. A lot of original music that still stands up sonically today, that inspired the evolution of electronic music, has an underlying noise within the music. This noise was from the electrical gear that it was made on. This noise can be measured and is known as noise floor, and can be made up of different elements such as thermal noise, electromagnetic noise, and distortion, commonly known as harmonic distortion. It's mainly harmonic distortion that plays a part in how we hear noise in music. Harmonic distortion is described as adding warmth or character to the tones when music is played. Harmonic distortion is largely from analog equipment. However, plugin companies have been able to replicate noise digitally to emulate the warmth. So why do we need to sample from vinyl? Well, if we have our favourite records to hand, and we want those sounds and samples in our music, then why not? In my book, there's nothing quite like doing something for yourself if you can. I feel that I have more an intimate connection with my favourite music and creating my own through this process of sampling. For this, you will need a turntable, a mixer, a recording interface and some records. You may not need a mixer. You can actually go straight into your interface from the RCA connections on your turntable. And some other more modern decks have a USB out, so you can go straight into your computer. Take a recording out from the back of your mixer if you're using one using an RCA cable. At the other end, you need to convert the RCA connections to 3/4 inch jack and plug them into your interface. Connect red to red and white to white at the mixer end. And if you're using a different coloured cable or a cable that is all one colour, find the cable or plugs marked to differentiate between left and right. At the interface end, I always connect R to the right channel, input gain 1, and white to the left channel, input gain 2. If you don't have any RCA to jack adapters, you can buy these online from Amazon, or you can find them in your local audio store. Okay, so now we're going to need to set up Ableton to receive audio from your turntable or your mixer. So click the Live tab next to File at the top of the screen and select Preferences. You can also get preferences up by pressing Command and Comma as a shortcut. This will open up the Preferences window or the pane, and you'll need to select Audio underneath Look and Feel or the Link MIDI tab here. So just click that and you'll need to go to Audio Input Device and select what interface you are using. So I'm using a Scarlett 2i4 USB, old school and classic, I know, but it still works. Absolutely love it. And there may be others in this pane as well. This drop-down menu, sorry. And Audio Output Device. So I've clicked the same as well. Now, the input configuration is something that you need to have a look at as well. So click that, and you can click mono and stereo for these as well. and select the same options for the output as well. So and I'll explain why in a second. Now, as music producers, we already know that a kick drum is recorded in mono. And the fact that we're sampling a kick in stereo doesn't really matter. However, if you do want to sample a kick in mono, then you can click the mono 1 and 2 inputs and either select 1 or 2 in the input channel to do so. Either way, when you drop the sample into a sampler, it will appear as a mono sample because that's how it was originally recorded. If you're sampling something that is stereo, then I recommend you sample it as stereo. But for this, we're going to sample in mono. So now we need to run a test to make sure that you're not cooking the channel volume on your mixer, and also make sure that you're not cooking the input gain on the interface. Remember, green is good, and for red, for digital recordings, well, red is bad. Red means that you will distort your sample. However, if this is what you're going for, then go crazy. Make sure the audio is coming into the audio channel in your project in Ableton. If not, troubleshoot and repeat steps 2 and 3. Now we need to make sure that the input selection is actually coming from channel 1 on our interface. So come over here to the clip device drop area, and also near the track title bar, which is here, you'll have a drop down menu called the input channel, and you actually want to select number 1. As you can see, on number 2 is where my voice is coming from, but number 1 is where the vinyl is going to be coming from. Now what I do is I press in, and you can see this will change orange. So when we do record the vinyl in, it will actually be as if the clip is deactivated. And then when we have finished sampling, we can click auto or off, and that will actually bring the sample to life, so we can hear it in the track display here before we edit and drop it into a simpler, so we can start sampling the vinyl sounds. Okay, so now we need to sample our vinyl. I usually leave Ableton recording and then play the vinyl. This is because my decks are on the opposite side of my studio or my bedroom, and this saves me doing the dash across my room to press replay and record, and missing the beginning of the record. Now, if you have a friend, a girlfriend, or a missus, you can get them to help, but this can be a bit clunky, so I prefer to do this on my own. So I just press play and record, and then go and sort my vinyl out. I just scroll through the record here until I find my first beat, and then I'll just gently release the record. There we go. And we just need the first few beats of the kick to actually get a nice sample there. We're only going to use one of them. So then, absolutely brilliant. So we'll just end that there. And we'll go and edit it. Okay, so now we've captured the sound, we can actually have a look at our sample here. So if we just press play. Okay, that's where we put the needle on there. Okay, and that's us finding the beat, and that's our sample there. So as we can hear this section here, we've actually got a few nice beats, and we've actually got some vinyl crackle in there, probably from dust on the records, or just the way that the vinyl sounds. So if you want that noise in, then feel free to sample it, but if you don't, just find the best sample. This one, for instance, here. Okay, so the best sample that we've got so far is probably this one here. These two, in fact. So what we'll do is we'll just highlight these, and if you press Control E on your keyboard, then you can actually crop these samples here, and then you can just decide which one you want. So I'm just going to take the first one here and just crop that again, so Command E, and what we can do is we can set up a MIDI channel with a simpler in it, and then we just drop the sample straight into simpler like this. and we can actually find a scrub area here and zoom into our kick. And we can use the device title bar and these start and end markers here to determine where our kick drum starts and finishes. And if we right click on the top of the simpler, we can group to drum rack, and we can have a little sample pad here, and we can press play. And there is our kick sample. If you want it a bit louder, the volume control is here, so we can just turn it up a little bit, and there's our kick sample. So from there on in, we can then save this sample. So what we can do is we can actually go into our user library. So if you go over into your menu bar here and the browser pane, we can actually go to our user library. I just go into samples. I've set up a sample folder here, and I just go into kicks, kick or kicks. Let's go into kicks here, and then what we can do is we can just grab this sample here and just drag it into the kicks folder, and then we can just rename it vinyl kick sample. Excellent. So then that's ready for us to preview and use at any point. So we can drag and drop that into the simpler at any point, and it will come back into the simpler. So that's available for any project that you might want to use the kick sample in.